The village was small and quiet beside a slow river, but on the night Eli was born, the sky was angry. The wind screamed, and rain crashed onto the ground like it wanted to tear the world apart. And inside a weak wooden house, Mara screamed in pain, while Jonas held her shaking hands, praying through tears that this child would live, because their hearts still carried the silent pain of a baby they once lost. And that same night, a rich woman traveling through the village was forced to stop when the storm destroyed the road. So she also gave birth in that same house, and the old midwife, bent by age, fear, and exhaustion, ran between the two women as thunder shook the walls and shadows jumped like ghosts. And in that terrible chaos, her tired eyes failed her, and her shaking hands made a mistake that would echo through many lives, placing the wrong child into the wrong arms. And when the storm finally passed and weak morning light touched the floor, two babies slept peacefully while their futures were quietly switched, and no one knew the truth. So Eli grew up poor, wearing worn shoes and patched clothes, eating simple meals. Yet his heart was rich with kindness, and he loved his parents more than words could say. Watching Mara scrub clothes until her fingers cracked and bled, and Jonas return home each night with aching bones, silent worries, and eyes filled with tired love. And Eli carried a deep guilt he never spoke aloud, believing their suffering was his fault, promising himself again and again that one day he would be strong enough to protect them and give them rest. But far away in the city, another boy grew up surrounded by comfort, learning pride instead of compassion, believing power mattered more than people. And as years passed, the truth slept like a hidden wound until the dying midwife whispered her confession with her last breath, sending fear, hope, and shame into Mr. Harlan's heart. And when he arrived in the village and saw Eli's face, his eyes filled with certainty as he convinced himself that blood had called to blood. And without understanding the damage he caused, he tore Eli away from the only love he had ever known. While Mara collapsed to the ground crying until her voice broke, and Jonas stood frozen, his hands shaking, feeling his soul tear apart because he could not fight a man with money, power, and law on his side. And in the city, Eli lived among tall walls, soft beds, and endless food. But loneliness wrapped around him tighter than poverty ever had, because servants obeyed but never cared. Smiles were empty, laughter sounded cold. And Mr. Harlan looked at him not as a son, but as a failure, scolding him for being gentle, mocking him for helping others. And every harsh word carved another wound into Eli's heart. And every night Eli lay awake, staring into darkness, holding memories like fragile treasures, the river's sound, his mother's tired smile, his father's quiet strength, wondering if they still thought of him. Until one night whispered words shattered what little hope he had left, revealing that he was never meant to be there, that he was the wrong son, and the truth crushed him so deeply he could hardly breathe, filling his chest with shame and confusion. Yet instead of anger, he felt a deep sorrow, realizing that love had been replaced by pride, name, and bloodlines. And when he returned to the village, broken and empty, walking the long road with fear in every step, believing he no longer belonged anywhere, Jonas and Mara ran to him without a second thought and wrapped him in their arms. Their love stronger than time, distance, and mistakes. And in that moment, Eli cried harder than he ever had, releasing years of pain he never allowed himself to feel. And slowly, Eli rebuilt his life from nothing, helping the weak, caring for the sick, teaching children who had been forgotten, sharing food even when he had little, turning his pain into purpose and his loss into strength, while Victor drowned himself in greed, cruelty, and empty pleasure, losing friends, respect, and finally everything he once believed made him important. And Mr. Harlan watched his world fall apart piece by piece, haunted by memories of the quiet boy he pushed away, waking every night with regret pressing on his chest like a weight he could not lift, until old, weak, and fragile. He stood one day beside the village river, watching Eli laugh with children beneath the same sky that once brought destruction, and tears ran freely down his face as understanding finally reached him, realizing too late that the wrong son was never Eli, but the man who chose pride over love. And as the sun sank below the water and the river glowed with fading light, Eli felt peace settle deep inside him, knowing the storm that began his life tried to break him. The world tried to misplace him, but love guided him home, and no mistake, no lie, and no loss could ever take away who he truly was.